Everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here. And is there footage that may actually get released from Jeffrey Epstein? This out of the Daily Mail. It says the footage will haunt me for the rest of my life. Jeffrey Epstein survivor claims she watched tapes the pedophile made of his wealthy friends having sex with a female victim for blackmail and says she still has copies stashed. Well, before you, no pun intended, get Epstein, you might want to actually release that footage. We're going to go into this today because there's a lot to kind of break down. There's so much more to this story than meets the eye. Remember, this guy was clearly a Mossad blackmail agent. He was alongside Ghislaine Maxwell. Again, this is someone who his bank accounts weren't even shut down. Money was moved after he allegedly died, which he did. Probably is still alive in Israel somewhere. And at the same time, the people that were actually trafficking or that they're trafficking these children to, they're not in jail, but Ghislaine Maxwell is. Again, how do you get found guilty of trafficking children to nobody? It's amazing. And they'll shut down Kanye West's bank accounts and people who say negative things about the government or BitChute's bank accounts and stuff like that, but they won't shut down Jeffrey Epstein's bank accounts. It says everything we need to know. So this out of Gateway Pundit, it says Maxwell docs unsealed. Epstein victim claims she has Epstein's blackmail videos that expose wealthy elite. Remember, this is how they get a lot of politicians. In one case, they'll tell them that it's an 18-year-old girl, say it's a president or a business leader or a celebrity, and then they have sex with him and it's on video and it turns out it's a 17-year-old girl and they say, we'll end your life if you don't comply. But then in multiple cases, it's like 9-year-olds, like these just absolute psychopathic freaks going after 9-year-olds. And we've seen how they cover this up. We saw ABC News and multiple other major news stations cover up for these pedophiles, just like they did with Jimmy Savile at the BBC and at CBC News in Canada with Peter Nygaard. They cover up for these people and the royal family and all that kind of stuff. And it's because they, are pushing a degenerate culture for children. That's why they're chemically castrating children. That's why they're pushing the trans stuff on children. And at the same time, you look at Yoel Roth at Twitter, he's been forced into hiding because Elon Musk noted that he was essentially allegedly covering up for pedophilia on Twitter. So anyway, we're going to go into some of this and more today. But before we do, my friends, make sure to check those links below and go and buy gold and silver now over at KirkElliottPhD.com/wham. Have it physically in your hand. Their control collapsing the economy. Kirk Elliott is the author of 11 books and is world renowned as a speaker. I've been on many shows. You get free special reports through this and very exclusively through us. And if you go into that link and actually go and sign up, through the actual sign up sheet, you can liquidate your IRA, your 401k or 403b, your checking, savings, or brokerage accounts into physical gold and silver. This could be life-saving in the future in ensuring your wealth against what's happening. And you can talk actually exclusively with Kirk Elliott, who we recently had on the show, if you go through that sign-up sheet. So go and schedule something now. It takes 2 seconds, my friends, and it could save your finances going forward. You should be concerned about what's in the bank, especially since the banks are set to go under. And then, of course, make sure to check out heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods that are non-GMO, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, books on how to get started. Use code WHAM, W-A-M, and you get free shipping on much of these products. Again, this saves you money versus the amount of food you're actually getting for the price here. You're actually saving money. And when they're control collapsing the supply chain to push us into the Great Reset, this allows you an opportunity to actually keep yourself and your family safe and not dependent on the food rations of Bill Gates, who, is an Epstein friend going forward. mRNA infused foods. You do not want to be in those ration lines, my friend. So don't wait any longer. Go and actually buy this stuff and be prepared. It all comes down to you. This is how we win our war for humanity, is to be prepared. So use code WHAM over at heavensharvest.com. Anyways, let's get into this. So the Daily Mail is talking quite a bit about this Epstein situation, and I'm going to go into the Gateway Pundit article because, of course, Gateway Pundit's better. And it says, out of Gateway Pundit here, Maxwell docs unsealed. Epstein victim claims she has Epstein's blackmail videos that expose wealthy elite. And as the article goes into, it says the New York federal court on Monday released more documents regarding Ghislaine Maxwell's defamation lawsuit filed by Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre. Most of the documents, as you would expect, were heavily redacted when it comes to revealing names of the wealthy elite who were Epstein's associates. But what did come to light was a deposition by Epstein victim Sarah Ransom. It's funny that her name's Ransom because that's what he does. He makes ransom videos. Anyway, it continues here. It says, in Ransom's deposition, she claimed that Epstein did make blackmail sex tapes of his elite friends and would go on to state she even has copies of the tapes. Well, we remember that the security expert that went to his New Mexico ranch, which Bill Clinton and his family went to every single year, which has a saloon, a schoolhouse, and an underground dance bunker. The security expert who hooked up cameras there said that he would go up to Epstein and say, hey, where do you want these? And Epstein would just be like, wherever they told you to put it. Because it's a government, agency, essentially. He's part of the CIA and Mossad. It's obvious, which also begs the question, the CIA and the Israeli government are mass trafficking in children. They're satanic psychopaths. It continues here. It says the Daily Mail shared this excerpt of the deposition, and I quote, when my friend had sexual intercourse with redacted and redacted, sex tapes were in fact filmed on each occasion by Jeffrey. Thank God she managed to get a hold of some of the footage of the filmed sex tapes, which clearly identify the faces of redacted and redacted having sexual intercourse with her. How are they redacting the names when it's a serious accusation that she says she has on video? And where are these videos? And how is she not dead? Continues here. It says, never before seen pictures of Epstein and Maxwell were also released by the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York. Here are Ransom's photos of Epstein and Maxwell on Little St. James. And two of the photos are completely redacted. And two of them aren't. It's Epstein on one of the ATVs that we've seen in past videos, and Ghislaine Maxwell sitting in a chair. Okay, well, and then here's a picture of her on Little St. James. But again, there's so much more to this, my friends, and they're blanking it out, which means obviously, they don't care about children. They don't care about the truth. They're covering up for an international pedophile ring. It says here, later in her deposition, Ransom claimed she was forced to have a threesome with Epstein's attorney, Alan Dershowitz. In response, Dershowitz has denied Ransom's claims. Overall, the unsealed documents were a bit disappointing due to the sheer number of redactions. Yeah, well, and Dershowitz is clearly a Zionist who is involved in severe, I'll just say issues. I'll leave it at that. But look at this page. Look at this. Look at this redaction here. They just say page 90, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 25, and the whole thing is just black. Like, it's insane. You can't. How do you go to jail for trafficking children to nobody? It's disgusting how obvious the deep state's involved in this stuff, how obvious it is that they're covering up for pedophilia. It's right blatantly in our faces at the same time as they put the Johnny Depp trial on TV all day. I think Johnny Depp was involved with Epstein as well. And they essentially go after Kanye West just for talking about Jews and stuff. I mean, it's so backwards, upside down, but of course it's meant to be that way. It's psychological warfare. It says, yes, this is what the District Court of New York considers unsealed. And here's a lesser redacted version. They just blanked out everything except for the words highly confidential AEO, the numbers 1 and 2, but numbers 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. are all blanked out, except for, number 19 is unredacted. Great. Helpful. They're just laughing in our faces, my friends. In July, the Gateway Pundit lawyers Mark Randazza and Jay Woolman of the Randazza Legal Group, along with GP General Counsel John Burns, filed a motion to intervene in the Jeffrey versus Maxwell case in the United States District Court for the District of New York. GP is asking the court to unseal all records identifying Epstein's sex clients. And they ask for money for legal fees there at Gateway Pundit, and they have the brief available on their website. But again, they are clearly covering this up hardcore. And if she has videos, it's like, how is this not out there yet? It's like, We got the Rob Ford smoking crack video. We can't get video of them of this guy raping children. Like, of course, we don't want to see the actual children, but the point is, we need to have the faces available. We need the evidence. It's right. It's out there, and no one's doing anything about it. Everyone just. It's like this and the Julian Assange case drive me so crazy because like no, everyone just doesn't talk about it anymore. It was all coming out in 2019, and they had to jump ahead to the pandemic hoax to distract people. And then they put out Netflix documentaries that are the epitome of a limited hangout operation, tell part of the truth, but not the entirety of the truth, to misdirect people from the entirety of the truth. Jesse Waters over at Fox News says the FBI is sitting on troves of Epstein evidence. Of course they are. They've been covering up for pedophile. In fact, creating a narrative where they push pedophilia on people. Look at the Hunter Biden laptop. They knew that it wasn't Russian disinformation, but went to all these tech giants and told them that it was. And then they covered up for pedophilia. ABC News and all these different channels covered up for Epstein. The royal family covered up for Epstein. And then on top of that, which I reported on a few months ago, there's a 15-hour Epstein interview that no one has yet. Steve Bannon. Yes, you heard that right. Steve Bannon did a 15-hour long interview with Jeffrey Epstein just a couple months before he allegedly died, where he goes into him possibly being a government agent and working for Mossad and collecting blackmail on politicians so that they do what they're told. And it's not out there. He released a trailer on it like a year ago, just showing clips of it, and then nothing. Is he using it as a dead man switch? I don't know, but everyone needs to continue going to Steve Bannon's pages and asking him, where is the 15-hour Epstein interview? It is absolutely not okay that this stuff isn't out. But alas, it isn't. And you can see our video 15-hour Epstein interview where we show clips of it over on our channel, World Alternative Media. It was September 10th, 2022. Moving on, we have all this happening as the Balenciaga scandal gets crazier. And by Balenciaga means do as thou wilt in Latin, but also with words like ball and Ciaga in plain sight. And these bondage photos with children where they have tape to tape up children and all these horrible props around them. And the photographer isn't even getting in trouble for this. It's crazy. They have images of kids laying on a bed, basically like they're about to be molested. It's just horrifying. Yeah, you can see here it says Baal and Ciaga. They're just putting it in plain sight. But they have pictures of kids laying on a couch, and then you look on the floor, and there's a dog bed that's a heart within a heart, which is literally there's a part of the photo which is a symbol for pedophilia, a heart within a heart. I mean, can we really just pretend this isn't happening? I almost forgot the kid has red shoes. Red shoes is also a big symbol. Again, they're handing off children to Baal. It's a big satanic ceremony, a sacrifice that they're essentially doing for the New World Order. And this ties things in pretty well. Here's a photo of Jeffrey Epstein wearing Balenciaga clothes. Of course, Kanye is involved with Balenciaga and refuses to call them out. Just saying. He says, "Oh, it's a distraction." Okay, well, I feel like it's not just a distraction. They're actually in our face telling us that they're molesting children. They're getting more and more ballsy with this disgusting act of Satanism. Meanwhile, we have people like Peter Nygard, who I came out against in 2009 and reported him to police back then because one of my exes, when she was 14, was molested by him. They told me I was a crazy conspiracy theorist. And now he's in jail. I've talked with his son, very nice guy, actually. His son is trying to help victims and all that kind of stuff. But Peter Nygard is a literal vampire. He talked about drinking the blood of young black women in order to live longer. It's really disgusting stuff. And he worked alongside Epstein and others on, I guarantee you, these pedophile blackmail rings. And when it became too obvious, they had to, call it quits, and they threw him under the bus and probably. I mean, I know he's actually in jail. Epstein, I think, is probably on a beach in Israel. But anyway, just absolute insanity. And they're all involved with politicians and celebrities, et cetera. I talked with his son about this a bit, and I'm like, hey, he was involved with Epstein. Are you worried that he's going to be killed? And I said, hey, he also had connections to Prince Andrew and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, he had a connection to a lot of people. His son basically never saw his father. By the way, Peter Nygaard's from Winnipeg, Canada, my hometown. That's why I have connections with that whole situation. But he's a big fashion mogul. But his son was like, yeah, I mean, I knew nothing about it because I barely ever saw my father. He was always off, and like I didn't have any connection with him. I only had real connection with my mother, because this guy didn't care about children, obviously, including his own. He is a complete psychopath and a horrible person, and I feel bad for his son because, again, very nice guy. Anyway, then you have Jimmy Savile, who just looks like the epitome of Satan. And, you know, one thing Netflix did do well is their documentary on Jimmy Savile, because they actually went after the royal family and everything in it. And it's pretty crazy because he was literally advising the queen and now the king, King Charles III. I mean, this is the epitome of a creep. I cannot think of anyone more creepy than this psychopath. And he raped easily thousands of children, thousands. And he had sex with dead bodies. I mean, it's like a demon incarnate. But again, it was covered up by none other than the BBC. And people are surprised when they're just figuring out that the BBC is lying to them about COVID and pushing trans kids on people and all that kind of stuff. It's like, why are you surprised that they're evil? They're government funded. They're stealing your money to fund them, much like the CBC in Canada, and they're covering up for pedophilia because they want to create a degenerate culture of children to create for the purpose of eugenics in the future. And of course, that is the case. Of course, these people are part of a globalist satanic cult. And of course, they will continue doing this stuff. And they're currently doing this. And we're only going to find out about it later. We need to demand these videos of Epstein come out. We need to demand the 15-hour interview comes out. We need to demand to know the internal documents of the BBC and at the royal family about what they knew about Jimmy Savile, what the Canadian government knew about Peter Nygaard and the government in the Bahamas, etc., and how many politicians and who they were, not just that went on their plane or went to their island, but openly, had sex with children, raped children that were trafficked and likely murdered in order to get power in politics, and then have the blackmail used only against them if they spoke out against the establishment. Like the Hunter Biden stuff was clear blackmail evidence that the Chinese government had, for example, that they probably got from people like Epstein. And, he became such a train wreck that they're like, okay, you didn't follow through with some deals. Here's the stuff. And then the FBI covers up for it. The CIA covers up for it. All the major tech platforms cover up for it. Are people awake yet about what's going on? Everything is a script. And if anything goes off script because they release a blackmail regarding these psychopaths, then it all comes crashing down. So they have to do whatever they can to stop people from learning the truth about just basic everyday things. From the pandemic hoax to the collapse of the energy grid that they're doing on purpose, false flags, supply chain, war on terror, war on drugs, the divide of the public, playing races against each other, and of course, the collapse of the control collapse of the global economy, and the pedophile rings because they're a satanic cult. There's so many things that people need to wake up about, and this is definitely one of those things that has forced at least some people to ask some questions, but they're really just trying to get around this issue as much as possible, like with the Netflix documentaries, HBO documentaries, all that kind of stuff, to like Again, the limited hangout operation, tell part of the truth, but not the entirety of the truth, to misdirect people from the entirety of the truth. So they kind of just get around the issue and essentially control the narrative from that. So anyway, I'm going to end this now. I appreciate everyone watching today. Check those links in the description. Make sure to check out rncstore.com, Richardson Nutritional Center, your source for Laetrile online, made famous by G. Edward Griffin's book, World Without Cancer. Get your apricot seeds, Laetrile, amygdalin, and vitamin B17 there. We just recently interviewed Dr. John Richardson's son, John Richardson Jr., on the potential cure for cancer. Very important stuff when we're being hit by chemicals everywhere. Again, this is a war on humanity, and they're hitting us from every front. It's a giant human sacrifice. It's a satanic ring against humanity, and we need to stand for humanity in this and stand for the innocence of children and stand for God. Oh my goodness. Continuing on, so much evil in the world, just so much evil. We have the late great Dr. Zelenko's vitamins and supplements, Z-Stack, Z-Stack Kids, Z-Detox, and Z-Flu, where you can get high levels of vitamins in these capsules that you will not find on your average shelves of a GNC store or one of these vitamin stores. So make sure to check that link in the description. You will get free shipping, a bunch of money off, and yeah, it'll benefit you greatly because it's all about health going forward. And of course, preparedness. Check out heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods that are non-GMO, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, books on how to get started. Use code WAM, W-A-M, and get prepared today with long-term storable foods. Again, my friends, this is imperative that people actually get on this when they're collapsing the supply chain. It's one of the number one ways they control us when they're going into the cashless society, the carbon credit, social credit system, technocracy. This war on humanity ends either by your compliance or your strength because you actually got prepared and didn't wait until the shelves were empty and then have to beg them in a government ration line for Bill Gates' mRNA-infused foods. So check that link in the description for heavensharvest.com. Use code WAM, W-A-M. We also have whamsurvival.com for long-term storable foods to save a bunch of money if you go through us on there. We have a Lion Energy link where you can, if you go to that link, you get free shipping, money off, and 100% money back guarantee on lithium batteries, solar panels, solar generators, things that'll help you against the control collapse of the grid and the Great Reset. Remember, don't be dependent on the government grid. You have to have some backup on this, or else they will force you, starve you, and freeze you or boil you into compliance, because the new currency of the future is compliance. So go to that link and get prepared now. Don't be dependent on the government grid. So that's that Lion Energy link in the description. And then, of course, we have the Tower Garden project in the description as well. You could get Tower Gardens and save a bunch of money if you go through our link on there. And finally, check out kirkelliottphd.com/wham and buy gold and silver now. You can liquidate your IRA, your 401k, your 403b, your checking, savings, or brokerage accounts into physical gold and withdraw from the banking system. It's one of the number one ways we can actually avoid this coming catastrophe. Again, insure your wealth, get out of that system, my friends. And this is how you do it. And you can actually talk to Kirk Elliott personally. If you go to that sign up sheet and write out your schedule where you want to talk to him, when you want to talk to him, etc. Anyway, finishing it off, we have a gogetfunding.com campaign. We have a Patreon and a Subscribestar campaign where you can pledge, and the Patreon, Subscribestar, and Rockfin, we have a 45-minute speech coming up on the history of technocracy from the 1910s into today, what I believe is going to happen in the future, and what I'm doing about it personally in Puerto Vallarta. So you can get that exclusive speech from the Mariposa Freedom Festival at Rockfin and Patreon and Subscribestar if you pay money for that. Of course, we appreciate everyone that's helping and supporting. You guys are the heartbeat of independent media, and we are completely in debt to you. We are completely viewer funded. Of course, we have a Bitcoin address and a Cointree link with a bunch of different cryptocurrencies that you can donate in if you please, including Monero, Piratechain, and Litecash for privacy coins, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin for non-privacy coins. We have an Epic Fund Me campaign with a bunch of with Epic Cash, the privacy coin based on the Wimble protocol. And of course, we have a Teespring store with a bunch of merchandise you could buy and help support us with that. We are on Telegram at World Alternative Media, Telegram channel, World Alternative Media announcements, Band.video, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, and Brighteon, World Alternative Media. We have the podcast platforms, of course, Spotify, Podbean, World. Of course, we have Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, World Alternative Media, and help support us on there. Give us a 5-star review if you haven't already. And anyway, we appreciate everyone watching. Hit that like button, share on social media, hit the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you have not yet already. Until next time, my friends, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.